Welcome to Youth Sports Mastery on the Daily Parks and Rec Show, hosted by Aaron Locks and sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. Join us live every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as Aaron sits down with coaches, recreation professionals, and industry leaders to discuss youth sports, athlete development, coaching excellence, and the positive impact sports have on young people and communities. Tune in for expert insights, inspiring stories, and practical strategies to help young athletes succeed. In this episode, we explore how youth sports build confidence, resilience, and character with sports psychologist and author Tom Mitchell. Discover practical insights for parents, coaches, and recreation professionals.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's Youth Sports Mastery Show, featured here on the Daily Parks and Rec Show. I am stoked today. There's so many amazing things going on. Happy holidays to everybody. Hope you're safe and life is being kind to everybody. Craig, thanks for staying in the forefront with us for a couple minutes. There's something big that happened that I think we want to talk about. And Coach, I call you Coach. I know you haven't been coaching in a while, but Tom Mitchell, thanks for jumping on with this. In a minute, we're going to go ahead and we're going to dig in a little bit more to the full introduction, and we'll get more. But, you know, Craig, with what happened on the Congress floor, to have this happen, I think it's so important for what we talk about all the time. I would like to actually run this spot, a little indulgent. It's not me out there, but Tom Ferry from Project Play in the Aspen Institute. This is powerful stuff. So, Craig, if you could run that, I think on the other side, let's dig in and have a conversation if we're good with that. But thanks for everybody showing up. Let's do it.
All right.
Caught up in what's going on, the horrific stories that happened over the weekend, but there was something really important happening in Congress yesterday. Lawmakers focusing on the cost of youth sports. Here are just some of the growing issues impacting children and their parents, especially if you're like some of the 70% of parents living paycheck to paycheck. On average, if you want your kid to play sports, not go pro, it's about $1,000. That's up almost 50% since the pandemic. $30 to $4 billion a year. This has become an industry to play in your league, to put your son or daughter in the best situation possible for them to be successful. What parent doesn't want that? Kids from low-income houses are 24% homes, 24% play for less than the high-income houses, their peers. So if you're a kid trying to make their way in sports, you have less of a chance to be successful, and it's harder for your parent, perhaps, to write that check. Oftentimes, you're from low-income areas where it's hard to get fields. And 70% of kids drop out of organized sports by the time they get to ninth grade. Think about that. So what indeed is the point? Our next guest highlighted these issues yesterday during a House subcommittee. Let's bring in Tom Ferry, Executive Director of the Aspen Institute, Sports and Society Programs. Tom, I love the topic. Thrilled you guys were tackling it. What came out of it?
I mean, honestly, I thought there was great agreement about the value of sports and building healthy kids in terms of military readiness, strong, cohesive communities, bringing down healthcare costs. We all understand the value proposition that kids who play sports are more likely to do better in life, right? A lot of kumbaya around that. There's a lot of kumbaya also around the idea that there's a lot of pressure on families, the cost pressures, but also the time pressures, Brian. Our research shows that the average family spends 3 hours and 20 minutes a day on their kids' youth sports. And if you got like 3 or 4 or 5 kids, that's a hard thing to do. So people are feeling it from when kids are 7 and 8 years old, and they're like, this feels like too much.
So it's not that every parent wants their kid to go pro. I mean, that's some of them, but they just want their kids to be successful. And there's winners and losers in every big game and little game, and you know how they feel. So you want to try to cushion that feeling or push them forward to experience that. So a lot of times parents' hearts are in the right place. Why did it become expensive?
It's become expensive because when you and I were growing up, we had what we call in-town recreation leagues, right? Classmates playing with classmates at a local field. One season we go, low economic barriers to entry, low time barriers to entry. Well, what's happened is we've created these travel teams, which used to only exist in high school. They pushed down to middle school, and now they go all the way down to second grade. And once we create these trial-based travel teams, which are often private, the cost goes from a couple $100 a year to several $1,000s a year. And it starts structurally pushing aside a lot of kids who can't afford it, or they're just late bloomers or whatever. And so this is what's happened. We've allowed the travel team environment to sort of take over.
Right. So, for example, I'm going to go to Pennsylvania and play in a tournament, and I'm going to pay for a hotel. I have to take a day from work to go over there. Then I'm paying for that tournament. And then you watch your kid play for 3 days. You got to go to 3 meals, and then you got to drive back. And that is indeed your weekend, where maybe that tournament can be done just around the block, but no one pays hotels. No one pays for the tournament fees if the kids are playing for free. So do you think parents or organizers are cashing in like everywhere in society? They see kids as commodities?
Yeah, they do. I mean, look, $40 billion a year, according to our research, is flowing through youth sports. And that's just the parent spend. That's
Right.
not the public spend. That's not private equity, just parents. Okay,
Just root. Right. That's crazy.
That's almost twice as much money as flowing through the NFL. So,
Right.
yeah, it's become a commercialized environment.
Just give me a little bit of hope. Tell me a couple of things that you guys came out of this that you could do right away.
Bring back recreation leagues. Have park and recs say this is really important that we have low-cost sports up through at least 6th or 7th or maybe 8th grade, and prioritize the field space. This can be done. We don't need the federal government to come in and solve the problem here. This can be done on a community by community basis, by a community saying, look, we want sports to be accessible and a great experience for all kids. And we're going to use our fields and our gym space to make sure that those local leagues come back.
Right. Have fun again. Supervise. You don't have to coach everything. Tom Ferry, thanks so much for what you guys do at the Aspen Institute. I'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Brian.
Hey, it's Will.
We've been preaching this It's Just Rec campaign, right? And you guys will see a spot in a little bit. Tom, I want to introduce you and bring you in. We've known each other since the 90s, right? Oh, my goodness, right? Would you do me a favor? I know we just did this big lead up, but just give me a little bit so everybody understands why I'm so stoked to have you on the show, your background, and a little bit of what you've been doing, so then we can explain how we're going to dive and pull this all together.
Yeah, well, Aaron, we met as you were a student of mine in my college sports psychology class, and you were very instrumental in helping me become involved with the Golden State Warriors, where I was the team psychologist for 14 years. You had relationships you introduced me to, and that kind of took off. So very grateful for that. Over the years, we've stayed in touch, and I've been incredibly impressed with what you've done with your company and how you've grown it. I remember when it was pretty small and it was, a couple local areas, and now it's expanded nationwide. I'm a PhD sports psychologist. I worked with the Warriors. I've been a teacher and an author, but most important, I whether it's with kids or with leaders at a executive level, from Google to a small mom and pop shop, I like helping people, what I call, sort of find the greatness within, the internal aspect of competition, of performance, not just the end result.
Right. Love it. So Craig, I want to talk a little bit, you've been doing this and you've talked to over 350 shows now, or something crazy going on. You talk to these park and rec people. When you see that and you hear that and you think about what Tom just said about, we're going to get into his background, but we got to bring this back to the Parks and Recreation. And kids, if this system was working, more kids would be playing sports instead of less, right? When we were kids, 9 out of 10 kids played a sport. Now it's less than 5 out of 10.
Yeah. So
what are you seeing, Craig, in your travels? I know you've been talking to a lot of people, but from your perspective and your connection to the Parks and Rec space, what is your thought about that snippet, and how can we reconnect the Parks and Rec to the families so kids can have affordable options in youth sports?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the narrative in youth sports has become we're training the next D1 athlete. We're training the next professional athlete.
Right.
But that's really just not the case. 99.9% of children will never even become a D1 athlete.
Right.
But the value of Parks and Rec and the value of sports in Parks and Rec is this is one of the strongest and most powerful educational tools to prepare our young for the future they have in front of them, because there's nothing that teaches quite like youth sports, where you have loss, you have wins, you have, discovering your bodies and stuff. And these are the future doctors, lawyers, engineers, teachers. They're not the future athletes. It's such a tiny, tiny, infinitesimally small group of people that actually make it to that level.
Yeah.
Well, Parks and Rec is responsible for the whole community, not just the future athletes. And like they said, it's those young years where it's like second grade all the way really to eighth grade, and I would say even in high school, that they are responsible for, but their fields are just getting dominated, and there's just no space to even do rec sports because the travel ball teams are so well funded, and they pay such a high figure for those fields, and they just get crowded out, these young kids, and they miss out on all those valuable lessons that you and Tom have just dedicated your life to.
Yeah, appreciate that. All right, I know you got to boogie and get some things going, so
Yeah.
I'm going to dig in with Tom, but really good insight. I appreciate that because it helps to set the table here. Tom, I know we're going to dig in a little more specifically, but I want to ask you a question. When you see that video and you see what's going on, as somebody who has been around and you started playing sports as a young boy and all the way through, and your experience in that, what do you pick up from that, and just in general about it? Because to me, it's sad. It's really sad that we're getting to this point.
That's, interesting. You just had me watch that earlier this morning, and then watched it again the second time, and that's the word that comes to me, because the guy asked, "Hey, what could you do about it?" And he made an answer: get more involved in local. But the truth, in my experience, is that's not going to go backwards. That this is just going to become more and more. I have many former players, clients, friends who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s that are coaching their kids, and they have like maybe 4 kids, and their lives are crazy moving around. We're down in we live up in the Bay Area here. We're down in San Diego. We're in Oakland. We're just moving around, which obviously didn't exist. And it's cool. There's something nice about the bigger level, but not at the expense of missing something that's happening local. And that's what your company does, Aaron. You aren't Parks and Rec necessarily, but you're connected, and you stay local, and you make it affordable. So Joe Montana, I co-authored, started a book with Joe, Amazon bestseller. I started a company. I coached an AAU basketball team with Joe, and it was so refreshing. Somebody asked him, "So what do you think about this?" And Joe said, "Hey, first of all, I'm totally against it. I think kids should play 3 sports if they want, not just soccer, and they have to like do spring ball, summer ball, fall ball, or whatever, and then they have no other diversity." And I loved Joe saying that. Here's one of the best football athletes of all time saying that. So I'm probably the wrong person to talk to, because I would love to see things become more local.
No, that's exactly right. And I think the interesting thing is that's why I want to pick on you're so smart the way you approach it, and you're right. But I guess the question is how, to me, it's not the kids, it's the parents, because we've been sold a bill of goods that the only way your child, you were a college coach. Yeah. All right. You may not know this, but how many seasons did you coach college basketball?
12. Head coach, 12 seasons.
Yeah. Basketball, men's basketball. Okay. So right now, people are being told the only way they get a chance to play for Tom Mitchell is they have to play 60 summer games in 5 states on the elite team that travels all over the place, is the only way they're going to play for Tom Mitchell. Would you please tell them if that's true or not, and what's the real rest of the story?
So, Aaron, I can only speak from my vantage point, my perspective, right? I would absolutely, and I'm a maverick, and I buck the system. And, my notebook is called Embrace Your Inner Coach, not your outer coach. And I think I say the best coach you'll ever had lives within you. So that's a little counterintuitive just hearing that, but that's sort of how I roll and how I think. Yeah. So not only would I not buy into that, I would almost kind of like back when Havlicek from the Celtics, most people probably don't even remember him. He took 5 months off a year didn't touch a basketball, and he was, one of the top 50 players of all time. So I would encourage my players, if I'm still coaching, to do something different and not just be focusing on basketball, because it's too short-lived. And like the guy that was just on said, 99.9% won't even go Division I. They're missing out on the integration of a really well-rounded life. That's my perspective. A lot of coaches would disagree with me and say I'm old school and I'm outdated, but I believe it's a timeless thing to blend yourself into as many sports as you possibly can.
And if you think about it, and I want to go back before I go forward, but if you think about it, if you play multiple sports, you're going to play with different teammates. You're going to have different coaches. You're going to have different experiences. One sport you're going to be great at, one you won't. There's just all these different life skills, empathy, teamwork, all these things, right? Failure on a whole nother level, right? That you gain from this.
I want to show you something. I have it here. Let me find it. Oh, right here. Okay. So this guy, Chris Mullen, if anybody knows who he is, right? On the dream team, one of my best friends, I've been hanging with him for 30 plus years. Chris was an obsessive basketball player, but he swam, he ran, he cycled, he took time off, he lived a balanced life. And at one point, he was probably one of the best 10 players on planet Earth as a basketball player. And I was around him in the gym and watching it and vacationing with him and traveling with him and watching him do this whole other thing. And he was also still very, very disciplined and focused in basketball. It's possible. You don't have to be a fanatic, one-person athlete.
Yeah, I love that. So, all right, let's go back a little bit. When you were a kid, because I want to get a perspective, right? Okay. When you grew up, was it Pennsylvania?
Philadelphia.
Philly, you're a Philly kid. Okay, you're one of those guys. All right. Yeah. So when you were young Tom, or Tommy, I don't know how they called you, Tommy from the block, tell me about your youth experience. I'm curious.
I had a great youth experience. I was the youngest of all boys. We lived in a suburban neighborhood that had a big property. So we had a basketball, football, and a wiffle ball field on my lawn, right? So my brothers all played sports. My brother was on the Pennsylvania undefeated Division I high school championship. Had one of the winningest coaches of Pennsylvania history. So I had a great upbringing, played baseball, played football, played basketball. And then my junior high coach said, hey, I don't want you to get in trouble on the off season. I want you to play soccer. So I had good hands, but no feet. So they stuck me in the goal. And I was a goalie for several years. I actually became an all-league goalie. And so, I still love basketball. It was my main focus. It's where I put my energy. I ran cross country one year. So I'm a believer in, like you said, having different teammates, different kind of vibe, different culture. And that does not seem to happen when I talk to young athletes much anymore. Occasionally they play 2 sports, rarely 3.
So your perspective, obviously parents say, hey, I want Coach Mitchell to talk to my child. A lot of them have this perspective. I want my child to be right in the mind so that they can get a Division I college scholarship, right? I would assume there's some of that kind of that mindset, right?
Sometimes it's very accurate. Sometimes it's incredibly delusional. But regardless, it's a parent loving their kid and wanting the best for their kid.
All right. So I'm going to let everybody know a little secret. Tom is a little competitive, maybe not as much as he used to be, but I remember being in the gym, and if we were shooting around, he'd want to kick. Horse, don't play coach at horse because he will just destroy you. Okay, so here's the deal with your competitive spirit. That look, I'm a little competitive too. When that starts and we build that, part of that is you in your family, right? Part of it is when you're playing sports. Did you play rec sports, or what was the league like when you were a kid?
It wasn't rec. It was. And back then it was like called biddy basketball or just, little league. It was all local. I didn't really start traveling like anything till my senior year in high school when I was, being recruited and I got a basketball scholarship that I went to the Pocono Mountains to a camp and so forth. So no, like the guy was saying, when we grew up, it was different. And we're not going to ever go back to when we grew up and have it that way. I'm not saying it. But what I would be challenging a coach, if I'm a coach and I'm mandating that my athlete does all these things specifically just for my sport and not giving them an option to also diversify and punish them for not doing that, I would say, dude, like, what are you doing? Check yourself, check your ego. Like, is this all about you? Or do you care more about your team, your game, or the people playing the game? Which is so I would be a little bit obnoxious jerk to a coach that says, no, they have to always be doing my sport.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, I remember in high school, so I played all different sports. In fact, one of my favorite memories was I got to go and play in the NorCal finals in badminton. I had a gal who was playing, and they said, hey, she needs a partner, and I hadn't played badminton, but she was really good, by the way. But we made it to the NorCal finals, which is fun. And what a great experience, hand-eye coordination, playing badminton. And I think we miss out. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about Sandlot, because to me, I feel like I got more athleticism, more joy, more sports skill as a younger child playing against the older kids and playing just down the street, right? We did rock, paper, scissors, we picked teams, and we just played. But I wanted you to talk a little bit about the psychological component of that. That's your field, about kids that get to have a choice. Let me tell you what we do at the National Academy of Athletics.
Yeah.
When we used to pick teams in the day, remember? And it was like, you pick one, okay, I get the next two. Oh, shoot, I don't want lumpy. Okay, well, we figured it out, right? We made the deal. Nowadays, you're not allowed to do that. So we do it opposite. We call it self-sorting. So if we've got 30 kids, right, we take three. We might be the three tallest, the three shortest, the three kids in the red shirts, whatever. We put them out, and then we line the rest of the kids up. And we go, okay, pick what team you're going to. And the first one picks a team. You can pick one of the next two. So they self-sort. They get a chance to put themselves on their teams at our camps and programs. What's great about that is there's less complaining because, hey, you picked the team. You know what I mean? Rather than reverse. But I want to dig in a little bit, whether it's neuroscience, if it's psychology-wise, that what we had when we were kids, the ability to create an event and improvise in that, I feel like that's missing for kids. Can you talk a little bit about that perspective?
So let me get the question right. Are you saying when we were able to kind of pick sort of on talent, on size, or whatever, and we weren't being as politically correct as we need to be now, right? Not hurting anybody's feelings and so forth. Are you asking the question? Are we missing out on something? Or what's the question?
Yeah,
there?
the real quick, I guess the beat of the question is, when we were kids, we had it different, and we self-sorted. We did some of this. We even did some of this, but we figured it out. And kids are missing out on that experience. I'm not saying they need to go fight, but I feel like they don't have the ability, because we're skipping steps. You know what I mean? We're going straight to elite club travel instead of do they know how to play the game? Are they having fun with their friends? Are they getting to self-sort and figure these things out?
So I'm going to answer this question a little different than maybe you're expecting. I helped my best friend. He was the president of AT&T and Pac Bell. He made the Pac Bell Park deal happen back of the naming rights with John Palumbo. And John and I worked on writing his book, and he wouldn't mind me telling this. It's a really cool biography or autobiography. And he talks about being that in Reading, Pennsylvania, being that kid that was the last one picked because he was overweight and he wasn't as skilled. And when one of the chapters, he's recalling this vividly. He's back in like 6th grade in his head, right?
Yeah.
And I said, "Wow, was that embarrassing to you?" To like, it was honest. It was competitive. There was no like hiding from the fact that the kids were given permission to choose who they wanted to win the game. Right. And John said, "No, you know what it did for me? It motivated me because I was able to see the truth." And so John ended up, becoming a really fit athlete, and not like a college level basketball player, but I could play games with him and he could hang, And he said that not just that, but that was one thing that motivated him. So there's an example of it where it worked for somebody. It didn't hurt their ego. It didn't crush them, and which we don't want to do with anybody, right? So there's always that risk of the blunt truth. Joe once said, somebody said something about keeping score. The name of our book is The Winning Spirit. The spirit's the intangible, the trust, the camaraderie, the work ethic, all this stuff you can't really quite put your finger on. The winning is the final score, the outcome, the result, the championship. He's a 4-time Super Bowl champion, right? So winning, but then that invisible stuff, And Joe, somebody said something about, maybe not keep score. He said, why do we keep score? Because it's part of the reality of it. Somebody wins, somebody loses, somebody is joyful, somebody's sad. It's life. Let's not sugarcoat it so much. So maybe what you're saying is that in the new way, there could be some sugarcoating that keeps the athlete sort of guarded from real raw reality, right?
I think what I'm looking for is I'm trying to check in the sense that I know I had 2 kids, right? And I know we won some games, we lost some games. And when you sometimes when you lose the game, that's when you get the greatest lesson, right? But the key is, like my mom used to say all the time, no matter what I did, Tom, you'd appreciate this. No matter what I did, whether I got a bad grade on a paper, or I didn't do something right in the game, whatever, she would just calmly, without judgment, say, "What's the lesson? What's the lesson?"
Oh, that's great. That was good for your mom.
Yeah, she was ahead of her time. I want to pick her to swim sometimes because I'm like, what do you mean? What's the lesson? But it worked out. But okay, so if you're a parent out there and you're getting sucked into the vortex of the only way my child is going to get a chance is if they specialize, what can you give them some insights in terms of just the mindset? I really love you have a way of clarifying and whittling down to the little piece and say, here it is. And I'm thinking about if it's a parent, because what I feel like is happening is there's so much pressure, there's anxiety, there's emotional, all these other components that breaks down their confidence and their willingness to try because they're afraid to fail. And I think it doesn't come from the child per se. My perspective, it comes from the parents because of how it's handled. I'm not sure about that, but I figured I'd ask the expert.
So again, let's be very raw.
Yeah.
If you have a kid who's playing for a coach who wants that athlete to specialize and not necessarily have an opportunity to do other sports and not go on vacation and be here during summer when other people are doing things. And that's the expectation of the coach. You as a parent and as an athlete, depending on the age, have a choice. That's the rule of the coach. So you're not going to change that. I mean, you could go in fighting and confronting and challenging and maybe it'd be good to have a conversation with the coach about that. But let's say the coach is crystal clear on this is what I expect. This is how I do life. This is how I coach. Yeah. Then you have a choice. Do you want to play for that coach or not? I had players that didn't want to play for me because of my expectations. And I had players I didn't want to play for me because of my expectations or theirs. And so there's no way around this one. You have to have a decision. So maybe you look for, if it's possible, might be impossible, but look for a coach that is a little bit more aligned to your philosophy, more in your tribe, right? Because we're not going to fight the system, Aaron. We're not going to change this. And it's like, I had a friend who didn't believe when cell phones, who doesn't have one now, but he was opposed to it. Like, I'm not going to have everybody know where I am. And he kind of got left in the dust, and then he finally got a mobile phone, right? He was opposed to it. So you're not going to fight the system, but maybe you have to find a crack where somebody like myself might be more kindred to the idea of, I love this athlete who's going to play for me in college. I'd love him to also maybe run track. And one of my favorite players, jumped 6'11", was a 6'11" high jumper in the offseason. He didn't come to spring league. We had spring league. And he said, hey, coach, I want to run track. Yeah, baby, I'll come out and watch you.
There you go. Love it. Yeah. I when I got to meet with 6 Division I college recruiters for football. And it was interesting to me. We did a poll in this whole thing that came through. And 8 out of 10 kids that were recruited, 8 out of 10 that were recruited, so 80%, played at least 2 sports through the age of 16. So you think that they're basically saying, I always say a child's body is an all-terrain vehicle. They got to learn how to drive it,
Yeah,
and if you're going down the freeway in your Jeep and four-wheel low, you're not really getting to experience it. And I think it's going to lead to more Tommy John surgeries and more accident, just all these other factors, because they've never learned to develop it, let alone this thing, right?
Yeah. Let me give you a fact about the guy picture behind me here.
Yeah.
He threw 3 perfect games in Little League as a pitcher.
Yeah.
He won the Notre Dame slam dunk contest against the dudes that were on the Notre Dame basketball team. He was, because I know a guy who was also a client who was recruited the same year to the same school, North Carolina State. Joe was offered multiple basketball scholarships, and he was about ready to take it at North Carolina State. But Notre Dame swooped in the last minute, and that was his school of choice, and he signed there. Baseball, football, basketball, a guy who was, before Tom Brady, was the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Argue that, right? Argue that to me.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, when they're that good of an athlete, they can do anything. But I bet you mentally, there's so many lessons we can pull. We're running up against the break. We're going to take a break real quick. We're going to have some water. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about what happens when they start winning early and they start competing early. And I'm a competitive guy, so I think it's important. But I want to talk about competition. I want to talk about winning. I want to talk about losing and those factors. So, Craig, let's roll that. We'll see you on the other side, guys, in a couple minutes. Thanks.
In today's parks and recreation industry, communication, safety, and efficiency go hand in hand. That's where Outdoor Link comes in, delivering smart technology that empowers city departments and community planners to do more, smarter. Outdoor Link's platform connects and automates everything that keeps your parks running smoothly, from lighting and locks to signage, water features, Wi-Fi, and digital advertising. Control and schedule park lights for safety and energy savings. Remotely manage facility access. Update digital displays in real time. Coordinate fountains and splash pads. Provide public connectivity. And even run community or sponsorship campaigns on digital screens. All from one simple, unified platform, giving you real-time control, data, and cost efficiency. For parks and recreation agencies, that means safer spaces, smarter resource use, faster responses, and stronger community engagement. And behind every great park story is great infrastructure. That's why Outdoor Link proudly supports DPRS Media Company, helping the Daily Parks and Rec Show amplify the voices of professionals shaping our communities every day. Outdoor Link, smart, connected solutions for parks, recreation, and beyond.
They say it's Just Rec. Just Rec, where kids learn to try again. Just Rec, where confidence begins. Where teamwork, effort, and fun matter more than trophies. It's not about perfection. It's about participation. It's not Just Rec. It's where kids learn to love the game and themselves. It's Just Rec until they learn teamwork for life. It's Just Rec, but it's everything to them. It's more than rec. It's a movement. It's Just Rec until you realize it's shaping the next generation. Together, we're not just running programs, we're building a culture of confidence, connection, and community. Join us.
All right, welcome back to the Youth Sports Mastery. And It's Just Rec. It's Just Rec is such a wonderful, wonderful piece. I feel like it's important that people realize that. To me, I know for a fact I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for youth sports, and I'm so grateful for coaches, teachers, including yourself, Coach Mitchell and Tom. I really appreciate it, and obviously the friendship we develop. Right, my baseball coach, Coach Islis, who lives for me, I get to see him he's 85 years old. We're still connected. And he coached me when I was 7 and 8 years old, So that bond, and I'm sure you still have players that you're connected with and all that stuff.
Lots of them.
Right. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Well, okay. We teased. We're going to talk about winning and losing a little bit. Tom, you know what? Joe Montana, in his book, read it. By the way, I got to play him Horace, and I wasn't as lucky as you, but that's all right.
We played at your facility.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
Yeah.
So here's the question. Joe says, "Fail fast, fail forward," right? And I love that, because what happens is I feel a lot of parents nowadays are afraid to let their kids fail. For me, I always encourage kids, my kids particularly, to take safe, healthy risks, because once you learn that you fall down and you can get yourself back up, life's a little bit easier. My philosophy, I'm turning to you. Break it down. Let's do it. Talk about winning and losing and this thing, because I feel like this thing here, kids are struggling, man. They're struggling.
Yeah. So a friend of mine was talking to me about his daughter. She's probably 6th grade, maybe 7th, I don't know, plays basketball, and pretty talented. And when she misses, and she misses a couple times a shot, she sulks. She gets down on herself. So let's just call that losing. It's not losing a game. You hit the shot, it's a win. You miss the shot, it's a loss, right? Of course, what do we want to do? Everyone wants to win every game, every time, right? Everyone wants to make every shot they put up. Doesn't happen. So I said, we need to get to her now, because if she doesn't learn to embrace the fact that she might miss 10 in a row. Look at Steph Curry. He could have 3 bad games and then he stops shooting, right?
Yeah.
So, or Chris Mullin, same thing. When I used to be on the court rebounding for him, like he really did miss though.
No,
so
he's good.
didn't have to deal with losing in that regard that much. But I said to him, we got to get her mindset right to not show emotion. She can be disappointed internally.
Yeah.
But she has to be able to see that this is part of the game, or tough love, don't play the game. Don't take a shot. If you can't handle missing, don't take a shot, because you're going to miss. You're going to probably miss more than you make.
All right.
And that's a mindset. And how you get to that person, that's a trick. I mean, there's not a formula. You have to ask, you have to hang out, you have to be on the court with them, you have to watch them do it, maybe film them and show them. So on a bigger scale, if the team loses, everybody's hurt. Sometimes I couldn't talk after a loss, but let the dust settle, learn, like your mother, learn the lesson, and with courage, with confidence, with toughness, like a warrior, move on. Yeah.
Well, so when I coached my daughter's team, I may have told the story before. Sorry, folks, but there was a ragtag bunch of little girls playing basketball. My daughter had played a little program that I had, but no one else had played, and they were afraid to shoot. They were afraid. It was hurting cats. They were like 3rd and 4th graders. But what I did was, I said, "Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to encourage them," because I was taught focus on the effort rather than the result. Because with enough of the right effort, the desired result will appear. But I also know if they're encouraged to shoot, don't get me wrong, we want to make it. But so what I did was I taught them open and range on balance, because we got a formula. But here's what I did. Every quarter I said, look, we're gonna track, and I want 10 shots every quarter. And here was my philosophy, coach. Go down, shoot the ball. I figured, sometimes they would throw the ball over the backboard, and my team was cheering just because we shot. We were celebrating together. But you know what happened? I figured we would, out of 10 shots a quarter, which if we got our goal, we'd make 2 because of luck, 2 because of skill. In 3rd and 4th grade, 8, 16, 24, 32, we won the championship game. And again, because we weren't afraid to just let it fly. And the coolest part about it was they had so much fun. To this day, all those kids still are connected and know each other. And it was, 10 years ago, right?
Aaron, that's a really, really great tactic. Like the goal, it's was working with a real estate person, and one of their goals is to get 20 no's no's per month. 20 people say no to them because they know that they're out there and that there's going to be 1 or 2 or 3 people. That's all it takes to make the money to sell the house or
Right.
so they it's kind of counterintuitive, but they set a goal like you did, 10 shots, make or miss, doesn't matter. Get 10 no's. There's a book about it, like I forget the name, but it's something about the power of no, of
Right.
saying
Well,
no.
and everybody's heard the stories of Michael Jordan missed this many shots and all these, and that's
Yeah.
why he is, and all these other factors. So it's really cool. So let me ask you this: how, if you were coaching a parent, if you're a parent out there listening and you got a child that's dealing with this, can you give some tips? I know, look, there's not one thing that works for everybody, right? For me, I always found that I try to understand my kids' why, so I understand why they wanted to do it, right? And then I would try to set goals that were based on effort rather than results. And I also focused on the one thing that I believe we can control, which is our attitude. Because if our attitude towards something we can control, that helped, right? And it doesn't mean we don't have bad moments, but we just don't allow them to become bigger issues. But I'm curious, I think it'd be great if I'm a youth sports parent out there, or I'm a coach out there. What are some tips, maybe your thoughts you might have around helping dealing with that for the kids?
Yeah. So probably stay away from a specific tip because it is very individualized. Like there's not, to me, just this blanket, hey, do this. And if your child struggles with failure or losing or fear of taking the shot or the risk or whatever.
Right.
But the thing that I'd say is don't run from it, is pay attention to it. It will be, if this doesn't, and I'm not trying to scare anybody, but if this doesn't get taken care of at 6th, 7th, 8th grade, in high school, it's debilitating and it's over. That athlete will never make. I'm dealing with somebody right now, a former student, that his son is really talented, but is afraid. He has fear. And I wish I had known him when he was a kid so that we could have started working and talking through this, right? But pay attention to it. If you need to have, if you have the skill to talk to your child and you need to find a local coach or somebody who kind of can give the athlete permission to not be perfect, right? That is huge. And so then little tips or techniques like you did, taking this 10 shot a quarter will emerge. But the main thing I say is do not think it's going to go away without your attention to that person.
Right.
And I've seen it over and over again that an athlete, I'm not saying is debilitated, but is restricted by their inability to handle loss and mistakes. So here's one thing I did. My last year coaching, I believe it was, maybe my second to the last, my captains came and said, Coach, we're playing afraid. You get on us too much for turnovers. And I was a point guard. I was an all-state basketball player. You didn't throw the ball away like my coach. You just didn't. It was a sin.
Take care of the ball, right? Yeah.
So these guys were feeling I was too micromanaging them, and I was. So what I said was, all right, you can't play afraid. I am going to put that fear, that intensity into defense. There can't be mistakes like you're making on offense. And I am going to shut up and not say a word about your ball handling, your passing, and so forth. We'll still run our plays and stuff. We went on a 19-0 run.
Oh.
And I don't know if you remember Ralph Pantea, Mo Tolles, those local guys, right? They were, and it was my responsibility to help them not play afraid, right? So I don't know if that relates totally to what you're asking, but there's something in that is you can't excel when you're tight.
You know, it does, because of a word. I believe what's happening in youth sports and why Parks and Recreation is so important is because when it's club and elite, and again, there's nothing wrong with that stuff. I'm not trying not to bag on it, but the reality is if it becomes a JOB rather than a JOY, then what happens is that's when they're playing tight, right? They're not playing for the love of the game, right? I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's what it's about. And so,
Aaron, that does not sound ridiculous at all. We sort of apologize for saying that, like play for the love, right? And not an obligation. And I know I write about that in one of my books. It's like, who's responsible? Yes, ultimately the athlete has to feel that, and it has to come from within them and emerge. But at a young age, it's the parents' responsibility. It's the coach's responsibility, not just to sugarcoat things and say, "Oh, great job," when they didn't. It's to be honest, but also to embellish that incredible opportunity of play. PLAY. I was walking. One of my clients was the drummer of the Grateful Dead, and we were walking. I used to walk with him like over 300 miles, and we're talking about something, and he used to say PLAY. He played the drums.
Right.
Yeah, he had to work in the studio and the recording and the writing of music or whatever, all the work. But he'd say, "I play." PLAY. We don't go out and work basketball. We don't work. Let's go work a game of basketball. We play a game of basketball. Get into the essence of what that word means as a parent. Teach your child what that means. Talk to them about it, laugh with them about it, cry with them about the play of the game. That's a big one.
That's get home to me, because that, again, dealing with Parks and Recreation, to me, that's where, because here's the deal. Like at my camps and clinics and programs, parents are rarely there and kids play. Don't get me wrong. I have my talk, teach, play system, so they're learning and whatnot, but they get to play, and it's not with the parent looking over the shoulder. It's not for their parents, whatever. It's for their enjoyment to learn, to love the game. In Parks and Recreation, most of these programs are designed. Look, let's be real. Some of them might even be daycare. Your kid is going to a basketball camp for the week because I got to go to work. You know what I mean? And your kid is here. They get to play. I love that. So kids are encouraged to try. They meet new kids. They have tons of fun. And to me, the one piece that keeps coming up through all of this is the word confidence. I talk to a lot of parents when I do my parent orientations or whatnot. Confidence seems to be fleeting for kids. And
Aaron, I have a thing on confidence, and I apologize. I'm going to have to roll in a few minutes with you, but I want to share this with you if you could. I've so many times as a sports psychologist, as a coach, people have come to me with I don't have confidence. So there is a technique you can do for confidence. It's not magical. It's not mystical. It's practical. Okay. I did this with San Francisco Giant Tim Lincecum, right? When I did this exercise with him. I've done it with many pro athletes, college athletes, youth athletes. Make a list of every skill, both technical skills, and it could be great attitude, work ethic. You could be a sub and I'm good on the bench of cheering my team. It could be I'm great at laying down a bunt. I'm great at running around the end. I'm great at shooting. Without bragging, just being factual, being honest. At that level, whether it's 5th grade or 10th grade or college or pro, what am I really, really good at?
Yeah.
Write it down.
Love it.
Write all the stuff you're good. Make a list, a laundry list. It's a time to almost brag, but you're not bragging. You're just being real.
Yeah.
And then put another list of things I'm pretty good at, but I really, we could always get better on everything, but I could really grow in this area some. The one is like you're an A, the other is you're a B minus, right? Of your skill. I'm not really a great free throw shooter under pressure. I'm okay. I'm not terrible. And then other skills that you really need to develop, you just don't feel confident in. Mm. So a lot of times we look at what's missing. We have to get confident in this. But if you can really embrace those strengths that you have, that the athlete, now, a parent may have to help the athlete if they're young enough to pull this from them.
Right.
And sit with those and you hold up the mirror and you read them out loud to yourself and you affirm them to yourself and you let them sink in that you own these, that immediately starts building natural confidence that's there. You don't have to go get it. You don't have to earn it. It's there. It's present. The other one, like, okay, I'm kind of confident, but I could get a little better. The other one, I have to work on the off season, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's an exercise.
I love that. It's a simple, even like dribbling more with your left hand or whatever, because you can make tangible. I love it. I know you got a boogie, so I got a quick question. I want to introduce your new book, and I want people let them know about what it's about, the title, where they can get it, and if people want to get in touch with you, how do they go about? First of all, I want to make sure. Thank you for your time, man.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Let's talk about your book.
So it's called Embrace Your Inner Coach. It is not just a sports book, although I have a lot of sports stories in it. It's for leadership, it's for personal growth. Right. And it's really about finding that internal presence, that kind of voice within you, the confidence within you. Not that external coaches and teachers aren't important, and sometimes we need advice from them and they need to teach us how to swing or hit or throw. But there's also another coach that's inside you that's 24/7. And it's about getting more familiar, more in touch with that dimension of yourself. That's what the book's about. So it's really for all kind of walks of life. I don't have a particular genre that I wrote it for. You can get it on Amazon. It's in a few days, the title, Embrace Your Inner Coach. But right now, if you go to Tom Mitchell Books, in Amazon search, it pops right up.
Sounds to me like a heck of a holiday gift. I don't know about you. Person there, a good one.
I think there's like my website or something. So there's a way of contacting me through that. But I appreciate. I always love talking with you. Hope this was helpful. And and I apologize to anybody that might be listening if I pushed you if you don't necessarily agree with diversification, you think specification is the way to go, then that's your choice. We all can have our own opinions, right?
I appreciate it. I love it. We can disagree without being disagreeable. I know you got a boogie, you got some stuff. Thanks again for your time. Give me one more time the name of the book so that people can look for it.
It's Embrace Your Inner Coach. Tom Mitchell Books.
Tom Mitchell. Okay, we'll make sure to follow up on that, and I'll push it out there. Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it, Tom. Hey, Craig, come back in. Let's play for a little bit. We got time. Let's do this. Let's have some fun here. Man, oh man, he's pretty good, isn't he? You're muted.
Yeah, that was a great interview. Good guest. You always get the best guests. I'm always bragging about the caliber of people that you get on the show that you're connected with. It seems like you've been. And how deep you go with these people, decades long.
Yeah. It's funny that I've always been a believer. We're off topic for it. I had a really tough day when I was working with the Lakers program back in like 1985, I think 84. And I came home and it was one of those nights life was just kicking me down. And I had gotten some food and I sat down and Conan the Barbarian movie came on, it was like, man, all right, I can, and I'm watching this movie and I'm like, getting into it and all that and getting my, testosterone and getting my fired up. And all of a sudden James Earl Jones is at like the side of the mountain and all these people were there. And he goes, Conan's down there and he's ripped, with the Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's got the swords and it's like go time. And I think, all right, let's go, And James Earl Jones says, you think it's the power of the steel you yield that is the power that you have, but you're missing it. It's the power of he goes like this and a woman just walks off the cliff and dies for him. I'm like, what? And what he was talking about is it's the power of the flesh, the soul, the blood, the bone, the people you surround yourself with, which is the quality of your life. And that's the power. And it's like, I don't know why that was, but it took me out of my funk. And I started writing some stuff, my books came out, all this stuff. Weird, right? Random. But it's interesting because a lot of things that I do, I'm so blessed. I've had so many amazing journeys, including ours, brother, right? I mean, less than a year and here we are doing this thing. It's the coolest thing ever. So I was going to ask you, because I always because we're on the Parks and Rec show here, I want to bring this thing back because we're seeing what's going on. And this is an epidemic we're dealing with here. These are kids that are not playing sports. And I want to talk to you. I know we're going to be at CPRS coming up in March. I know we're going to have a chance to connect with folks, but do you got any ideas on if guidance to Parks and Rec professionals out there that are looking at this going, okay, I want to get involved and do more? Like, is there ideas that you may have? I know for me, you know what? Give me a call, folks. We'll try to bring the programs to your city and we'll work with you across the board. But I'm curious if you got a lot of experience, any insights or ideas or thoughts that might help a Parks and Rec professional to look at what they can do to help bring rec sports back to the community.
Well, I think, like you said, it all comes down to your involvement. You are what you do, you are what you think about, you are who you surround yourself by. Parks and Rec people are so focused on community and making sure that no one gets left behind. And I think it really just takes more than just being a parks professional, or let's just say you're a dad that's coaching, volunteer. There's so many opportunities to volunteer, to coach or to ref or anything like that.
Yeah.
And just get more involved, because, if you just don't show up, like they say, showing up is most of the battle.
Right.
Just starting. And so many people just sit on the sidelines and critique rather than getting involved, rolling up your sleeves and helping the Parks and Rec professionals build their communities. And then Parks and Rec professionals, don't be afraid to ask your parents to get involved, whether it's a special event, whether it's, coaching, whether it's just, bringing a watermelon and chopping it up for the kids after a hard day at sports, anything like that. Get your people involved.
Yeah. I think that, I always say it takes a village, right? I really believe that to raise a child. And I believe that if you got a strong village, going back to what I talked about earlier, that's what it's all about. And the youth sports space, I feel like what has happened is some Parks and Rec professionals, own it if you want, let it go if you don't, feel like it's either intimidating or they've given up. And I'm going to challenge you right now. This is the challenge, people. Step up, lean back into rec sports. Take the field back. You've given the field 7 days a week to a club. Take back 3 days to start with, right? Let's start small. Let's run our own little rec league. Our program, we have a program which our rec leagues, which I love, Craig, and as a busy parent of a lot of kids, right? So what we do is it's all done in the same day. So instead of having 2-3 practice a week in this, here's what we do. Let's say it's a flag football, and we want to call it flag football, Friday Night Lights, flag football. I'm sure it's taken, I coined it, but whatever, right? So what we do is the kids show up, parents drop them off. The first 45 minutes is skill development, and right, and how do you catch, how do you throw, and the fundamentals. And then the last 45 minutes is a game. So in an hour and a half, the kids are there and they get to experience it, they get to learn it, they get to drill it, and then they get to play and have it joy. So 8-week long National Camp Athletics league. They come in, it's a recreational league. It's focused on the effort and joy. Some of the leagues are smaller. We don't even have the same teams each week. They get to play with different kids. They get to mix it up. And it's more of the Sandlot feel and vibe, the old school recreation vibe, where kids just play because they love playing, right? There's no trophies or whatnot. It's high fives and belly bumps and laugh it out and do that. So that's one thing we offer that I really think is going to help. The other thing I think it's important is the training. You were a Division I athlete. You went through. Talk a little bit about your journey, because you played sports when you were a kid to college, in terms of that, because it was involved with the rec league and all that, and get to a place. And then you started to specialize, right?
Yeah. And I think it's important for parents to realize that this is most likely the most powerful part of their learning as a child. That, especially with the advent of AI and degreed education just being done by machines right now, it's like, so what is education? What is early childhood development? Right. And we can all, any athlete, I don't know of an athlete that I've spoken to that hasn't remembered their times, their coaches, their lessons when they were in grade school and high school, especially in college and stuff. They live with those lessons real time every day. The people that influence them, the teammates, are like standing in their weddings and stuff. And I think that community that you surround yourself by, of people pushing themselves, pushing their bodies, pushing their skill sets, dealing with failure, dealing with success. Yeah. I see that as a growing focus of how we raise our kids. because it really just encompasses the whole person. It's not just their mind, it's their body, it's their mind, it's how they deal with struggle. And for me, I just can't think of a better learning opportunity that I had, just personally speaking, than on the field.
I tell everybody, to me, there's no better life skill teaching tool than youth sports. Right. And I know there's been a buzzword of SEL and all these other factors, and they're real. But the reality is, when a child goes out there and they have individual accountability, because if they don't do what they're supposed to do, they're going to get exposed, right? They have the opportunity to thrive. And like Coach said, if you can look at the wins and losses, even in shots and all these different factors, but each loss is a lesson. And we focus more on the journey as a whole and all that. I think it's an immense opportunity. As we wrap up, I want to say thank you again to all that you do. I want to really look, man, if you're in the Parks Rec space and you want the opportunity to bring more recreational sports to your community, give me a call. Reach out to the National Cap Athletics. We've got franchises across the country. We're here to help, right? Lean into what's going on there, because I do believe, as Craig said, there's no better, teaching tool. There's no better opportunity for kids. And to me, they should not start with that competitive level. They should start at the rec level, because that's where they learn that youth sports is not a JOB, it's a JOY, and that's how we do it.
Yeah, I love it. Aaron, thank you so much for running the show and hosting this. This has been just a great year, and you're really an exceptional host, and your guests and content is just awesome. I'm always getting feedback from people that watch your show, so keep up the great work.
Appreciate it. Teamwork makes the dream work. All right, baby. Yeah. Happy holidays, everybody. We'll catch you soon.
Yep. Take care.
Bye.
On the Daily Parks and Rec Show, we bring you the real stories of tomorrow's professionals, people shaping the future, one idea at a time. Meet the very first DPRS interns to officially host their own segment, Aiden Tierney and Michael Morrow. With curiosity, passion, and a fresh perspective, they're stepping into the spotlight to lead meaningful conversations with today's rising leaders. The Young Professionals Network takes you inside the journeys, challenges, and major wins of young individuals making their mark across industries. From first jobs to bold ventures, every story fuels growth, ambition, and innovation. Each episode brings real conversations, fresh perspectives, and impactful insights created to motivate the next generation of professionals. Whether you're just starting out, exploring new paths, or figuring out your next move, tune in to the Young Professionals Network every Thursday at 5 p.m. only on the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Don't miss it, because your next big idea might be one story away. Welcome to DPRS Media Co., the first media company built for the people behind the Parks and Rec community. We don't just cover on Parks and Rec, we elevate it, we amplify it, we honor it. At the heart of everything we do is one mission: to serve the public servants, the professionals who design, maintain, and lead the parks that shape our communities. Under the Daily Parks and Rec Show, we produce 6 powerful platforms. Leadership in Parks and Rec, a spotlight on directors, superintendents, and visionaries shaping the future of public spaces. Facility maintenance, where the boots hit the ground, a deep dive into the systems, crews, and craftsmanship that keep our parks clean, safe, and beautiful. Young Professionals Network, shining a light on the next generation of Parks and Rec. Students, interns, and mentors sharing how we build a legacy together. Youth Sports Mastery, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. This series is for coaches, parents, and rec leaders working to make youth sports fun, fair, and meaningful again. The Rec Room, hosted by the passionate leaders of Henry County Parks and Rec. This show brings frontline energy and real-life stories from the field. And the weekly Parks and Rec Post, our official newsletter delivering stories, insights, and community wins every week. We are DPRS Media Co., LLC, a media company with a mission to uplift the professionals who serve every community, every park, every day.